In the world of multiplayer gaming, few titles have carved a legacy quite like Left 4 Dead 2, a sequel that launched amidst controversy, matured with community love, and still thrives more than a decade later. But how did this game go from backlash to beloved? And why do players keep coming back to fight the horde year after year? Today, we're diving deep into the full history of Left 4 Dead 2. To understand Left 4 Dead 2, we have to rewind to the mid-2000s. Turtle Rock Studios, a small developer founded by Michael Booth, began experimenting with AI-driven cooperative gameplay. Their goal? To create a 4-player survival experience like no other. This experiment caught the attention of Valve, the creators of Half-Life and the Steam platform. In 2008, Valve released the first Left 4 Dead to massive acclaim. It was fast-paced, intense, and most importantly, cooperative. You weren't just killing zombies, you were surviving together. The AI director, an innovative system that adjusted enemy spawns, item placement, and pacing based on player behavior, was hailed as a revolutionary feature. Then, something unexpected. Not even 1 year later, Valve announces Left 4 Dead 2. Fans were outraged. Why release a full sequel so soon after the first game? Why not update the original with new content instead? The backlash was strong enough that a group of fans formed the Boycott Left 4 Dead 2 campaign. Their belief? Valve was going corporate, milking the franchise too quickly. It didn't help that Valve had previously implied long-term support for the original Left 4 Dead. But Valve stuck to their guns. Gabe Newell himself explained that the sequel had grown far beyond what could be added as a DLC.
My name is Gabe Newell. I'm the president and co-founder of Valve. One of the concerns that were raised by people who had Left 4 Dead is, what's different enough about this to justify it being a new sequel? So we've spent a lot of time talking about what the scope is, both artistically in terms of the scale of the game, how the gameplay is evolving, what are some of the technological pieces that have moved forward, and doing anything we could to make sure that our fans, who are the reason that we exist, the reason that we have a business, understood why Left 4 Dead 2 was a really positive evolution, rather than just us trying to come up with a way of stripping money out of a successful and popular game.
New characters, weapons, campaigns, and significantly improved AI. Still, tensions were high until people played the game.
So we tried everything. We tried to find people who were sort of articulate spokespeople for that skepticism about this and bring them in here and show them what we were doing and say, look, this is exactly what we're doing. These are the people who are building it. Ask them anything you want. Play the game. And that was proved to be a pretty effective way of communicating with sort of these really hardcore members of the community and reassure them that this was a good thing rather than something that they should be skeptical and worried about.
Left 4 Dead 2 launched on November 17th, 2009, and it didn't take long for the tide to turn. The game was bigger in almost every way. 5 full campaigns set in the American South. A new cast, coach.
You mentioned pancakes, but it wasn't really about them, was it?
Nick.
You know what I like best about your stories, Alice? The sound they make when they stop.
Rochelle.
I hear a witch crying. I'm gonna give that witch something to cry about.
And Elias.
My buddy Keith lived in a graveyard once for a whole year. It wasn't a dare or nothing. He just got kicked out of his house.
Each with personality and charm. New infected types like the Charger, Spitter, and Jockey added layers to the gameplay. Melee weapons like chainsaws, frying pans, and crowbars introduced a brutal new edge. But the real standout? The improved AI Director 2.0. This version could dynamically alter not only the pacing, but the very layout of levels, blocking paths spawning hazards, and controlling weather effects to keep players on their toes. And thanks to Valve's Source Engine and Steam, modding exploded. The game was practically made to be extended by the community. Left 4 Dead 2 didn't just stop at launch content. Valve continued supporting it for years with DLC. The Passing, released in 2010, brought back the original survivors and deepened the world's lore. The Sacrifice told a tragic, pivotal story. Then came Coldstream, a community-made campaign that became official. Left 4 Dead 2 also blurred the lines between games. Crossover content brought characters into Payday 2, Zombie Army Trilogy, and even Dead by Daylight. Valve's open modding policy also meant the game could be reskinned, reimagined, and endlessly remixed. From Minecraft-style maps to Resident Evil tributes, the community kept the game alive in ways Valve never could have done alone. Even after the updates slowed, the community didn't. To this day, Left 4 Dead 2's workshop on Steam is a treasure trove of mods, campaigns, weapons, and total conversions. The game's scripting system allowed deep customization. Players created their own stories, challenges, and even competitive modes. Some modders built campaigns with higher production value than some indie games. And let's not forget versus and scavenge modes, offering strategic asymmetrical PvP that brought competitive depth to a cooperative game. The scene became so passionate that in 2020, Valve worked with the community to release The Last Stand, the first official update in nearly a decade, developed largely by modders. The legacy of Left 4 Dead 2 echoes across modern gaming. Its formula inspired countless co-op shooters like Warhammer Vermintide, Deep Rock Galactic, GTFO, and even Call of Duty's Zombies mode. Turtle Rock themselves would go on to release Back 4 Blood in 2021, marketed as a spiritual successor. It had potential, but struggled to capture the magic. Many players eventually returned to the simplicity and replayability of Left 4 Dead 2. So why does Left 4 Dead 2 still matter 15 plus years later? Because it never stopped being fun. Because it's still one of the best examples of dynamic, emergent co-op gameplay ever created. Because it lets you play with friends, fight impossible odds, and scream in triumph when you barely make it onto the escape vehicle. And maybe, just maybe, it's a reminder that great games aren't just built with tech and polish, they're built with community, creativity, and heart. Left 4 Dead 2 may have started as a controversial sequel, but it ended up becoming a classic. Thanks for joining me on this journey through the history of Left 4 Dead 2. Until next time, watch your back, keep your flashlight on, and don't startle the witch.